Morning. This is our unit test review for the volume unit. I hope everybody's doing well, and you will find a copy of this review guide on the bulletin board. If you would go into today's date, Monday, on March 23rd, you'll see that guide there. There's a blank guide, and there's also a filled-in guide for you to follow along. You can either make a copy of it, or you can just write these notes down on another piece of paper to help you to study. Your unit test is tomorrow, on Tuesday, March the 24th. I'm a little flexible with the timing, just as long as you have it done by 6 o'clock. It's a 40-minute test. It is timed. Unless you have extended time, you have 40 minutes. And you just need to find a time during the day when you can get 40 minutes uninterrupted time to complete your test. Alright, so let's begin. Alright, start off with, we talked about area formulas. We talked about the formula to find the area of a rectangle. If we're looking at a rectangle, let me just adjust the lighting just a little bit here. The area of a rectangle is the length times the width. This is my length, this is my width, and I'm simply going to multiply the two of those together to come up with my area. Remember, area is in units squared. Next, we have our trapezoid. Here we have our trapezoid, and this would be my base 1, my base 2. You need to know the height from top to bottom. That height is perpendicular to the base, actually to both of the bases, and this would be my height. So to find the area of a trapezoid, area is equal to 1/2 times the height times base 1 plus base 2. Another way to write this would be to say that area is equal to the height times base 1 plus base 2, all divided by 2. Either one would be okay and would give you the area of a trapezoid. Then you have the area of a triangle. Well, for this triangle, I can't really tell if it's an isosceles triangle, but I need to know, first of all, the height from top to bottom, and that height is going to be perpendicular to my base, and my base would be here. So to find the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height, or simply, you can also write it base times height divided by 2. In this unit, we also talked about the circle, and we talked about the different parts of the circle. We know this is the center of my circle, and I have a line that goes from one edge to the other edge through the center. This is my diameter. If I have a line or ray going from my center to the edge outside of the side of my circle there, or the edge of my circle, this would be my radius. The radius is 1/2 of the diameter, or you can also say that the diameter is 2 times the radius. To find the area of a circle, area is equal to pi times radius squared. You do have to know the radius in order to find the area. Then I have the circumference, and we didn't talk about this a minute ago, but the circumference is the distance around the circle. Around the circle. And circumference is equal to pi times the diameter. Or, because I know that the diameter is 2 times the radius, I can also write it this way. 2 times diameter times pi. Oops, I'm sorry. Not right. The circumference is equal to 2 times radius times pi. Sorry about that. Right? We talked about the volume of a prism, and we know that the volume of a prism is like a box shape. We talked about the name of a prism comes from the name of the shape that's its base. I know my lateral sides are all rectangles. That means the sides going around the rectangles. My base could be other shapes other than a rectangle, but this is a rectangular prism because my bases are rectangles. So to find the volume of a prism, I'm going to find the area of the base and then multiply it by the height. Sometimes that A is also, sometimes you'll see it as a capital B. So either way it's talking about the area of the base. Then you have a cylinder, and it's the same thing. Cylinder, there's my circle of bases. It's for the find the volume of a cylinder. It's still the area of the base times the height, but in this case my base is a circle, and we talked about the area of a circle being pi r squared. So to find the volume of a cylinder is going to be pi r squared times the height. There's your area of the base times the height. The surface area of prisms and pyramids is you're simply going to add up your lateral sides, the area of your lateral sides, and then add up the area of your bases, and then you add that together, and that becomes your surface area. So surface area is equal to the area of the lateral faces. We call those faces, but we can say sides, plus the area of the bases. And I'm going to say base with S because, as we know, a pyramid only has one base, whereas a prism has two. So is the area of the lateral sides plus the area of the bases. Alright, so let's look at some examples. I want to find the surface area and the volume of this triangular prism. So if you notice, this triangular prism has two triangles, and these, even though they're not on the top and the bottom, these are actually your bases. Okay, so I highlighted them in red. So surface area, we'll find that first. I'm going to add up the area of my bases, then I'm going to add up the area of my sides, or my lateral faces, and then that's going to give me my surface area. Alright, so my bases, I have one base, I have two bases actually, okay, and they're in the shape of a triangle. So to find the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height, and in this case my base of this triangle is 24. The height of this triangle is 10. So is 1/2 10 times 24, which gives me 1/2 of 240, which is 120, and my units were centimeters. So area is centimeters squared. Alright? And we already talked about this. Our bases are going to be the same for a prism. So formula, 1/2 the base times the height, which is that triangle base, and it's exactly the same as the other base, which is 120 centimeters squared. So as I look at this again, I see that I've got the area of my two bases, and then I have a side right here. This is a lateral side, and this lateral side is in the shape of a rectangle. The lateral sides of a prism are rectangles. So to find, I'm just going to call it a side. Okay, that's the purple one. It is a rectangle, so to find the area of that side is the length times the width. And in this case, this rectangle, this lateral side is a 34, has a 34 length and a 26 width. Okay, so I'm going to say 34 times 26, and when I put that in my calculator, I get 884, I believe, yes, 84 centimeters square. Then, as I look at my shape again, I see that I have another lateral side, and is actually laying on this side, which is the one I'm highlighting blue. And the area for that is a rectangle again. I'm going to call that also a side. That's one of my lateral sides. It's length times width. And if you look at the measurements of that, the length is 34 and the width is 24. So this is a 34 by 24. And then when I put that in my calculator, I get 816 centimeters square. So not quite done. I see one more side over there. And I'll just highlight this one black, which is this side right over here. Okay. And that side is also in the shape of a rectangle. And find the area of the rectangle is length times width. I'm going to, the length of that is 34, the width of that is 10. So this is a 34 by 10, and that gives me 340 centimeters square. To find my surface area, I'm simply going to add up all of these areas, and that gives me, if you plug that into your calculator, if I'm not mistaken, it gives you 2,280 centimeters square, and that's my surface area. Okay.